it's been something very good for me.
How?
Just putting things out there, you know, not hiding anything, and, you know, I think that's the best way to go.
With her retirement, Pat Summitt dedicated her life to fighting Alzheimer's through her foundation. The disease may have forced her out of the game, but within it, her legacy lives on.
Any words of wisdom?
Well, I think these young ladies know exactly what to do.
Yes, I do.
Beautiful piece. Dana Jacobson from CBS Sports Network is here. This is a tough one, Dana. This is a real tough one.
Yeah.
For, you know, admittedly, growing up in L.A., Cheryl Miller and the USC Trojans were my first favorite team. And boy, I hated Pat Summitt. But I hated Pat Summitt because she was so good. The numbers really tell the story. Just what sort of coach are we talking about?
Well, somebody put it best, I think, this morning that I read. When you think of Pat Summitt, it's not a woman. It's not women's college basketball. It's a legend. She really did surpass everyone, and her influence is seen. I talked to Swin Cash, who played for the UConn Huskies, so the rival team, especially in that time. And she said the hardest phone call she made was to Pat Summitt telling her that she wasn't going to go there to play. She just impacted everyone in the game, and it did go beyond basketball. Because when it was okay for women to play college basketball like that, we heard sort of that idea of staring down an opponent like that, it became okay to play other women's sports like that. You're still a woman, but you still can have that competitive fire.
Lifted the sport on her shoulders.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, the numbers, the 8 titles, the 18 Final Fours. Every player who played at Tennessee from 1976 to 2011 played in at least one Final Four. I mean, those numbers,
staggering.
That doesn't happen.
Well, and I think a lot of people will say, well, the competition in the women's game took a while to catch up because Pat was so far beyond at Tennessee. And that's true to a point. You still have to get there. You still have to keep that consistency going. And she was able to help spread that game. So you saw other programs like UConn, like Notre Dame, USC, and really get that.
There wouldn't have been a Gina Orem, and there wouldn't have been a UConn first without Pat Summitt.
Yeah.
Also, you know, it's important to note the 100% graduation.
I was hoping you were going to go there.
Her social impact and her impact on young women, not necessarily as women, but as people. I mean, she really removed the idea of gender from sport.
And I talked with some of the people that worked closely with her at times, and they said sort of her single-minded drive to succeed and then ignore everything else, ignore color and gender and all those barriers, and just teach people, motivate them to succeed, that had such an impact on so many people. The stories that we're hearing from Knoxville as people are remembering and celebrating her life, things like she used to go to the airport, obviously leave late on a recruiting trip, something like that. She'd drive up to the curb, throw her keys to the baggage people that were there. They didn't have valet parking, and everybody took care of her. And there's a legendary story about her being on a recruiting trip when she was pregnant with her son, and making sure that the pilot got back to Knoxville so her son was born in Tennessee, even though her water had broke while she was on the recruiting trip. I mean, she loved basketball, she loved competition, and she loved all the women that played for her. You know, in the piece I said her legacy lives on in the game, and it does, in those that are coaching that learn from her, and those that are playing, and those that are just in the community that are working as leaders, as women, sort of still moving forward the way she did.
You know, in the sports world, we play this game all the time, the Mount Rushmore of that. The Mount Rushmore of this. Who are your four? Who are your four? Right. Really, by any statistical measure, but truly the impact far beyond the court.
Yeah.
You're chiseling her face up into that mountain.
You have to, and I know if you want to go by numbers, she still did it better than the men in her numbers. There's no doubt, had she not been struck in with early onset dementia, she would have still been coaching. Yeah. That's the other thing.
I mean, so look, can we solve that? Can we solve the Alzheimer's problem? Because it's just, it robs us of just so very much.
Yeah, that's her legacy too, also with her foundation and raising money to try to fight this dreaded disease.
Now I'm going to explain today to my 9- and 7-year-old daughters when they're shooting hoops in the driveway. Yeah. This is why you're doing it. Dana, terrific stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.